In the depths of a petrified forest, where ancient trees stand like tombstones of a forgotten world, something moves between the shadows. The silence is broken only by the crunch of bone beneath massive hooves. Tonight, 4 hunters will discover that in this graveyard of stone and fossil, they are not alone. What stalks them through these calcified remains is a nightmare from the dawn of time. Creatures so savage that even death itself seems to flee from their presence. The hell pigs have awakened, and their hunger knows no bounds. The world had turned to stone. Vast forests that once swayed with life now stood frozen in time, their trunks transformed into pillars of calcified bone and mineral. This was the petrified forest, a realm where the boundary between life and death had blurred beyond recognition. Ancient trees, their bark replaced by crystalline formations, reached toward a sky that seemed perpetually shrouded in mist. The very air tasted of minerals and decay, a bitter reminder that this place existed outside the natural order of things. Scattered across the forest floor lay the fossilized remains of countless creatures, skulls the size of boulders, rib cages that formed natural archways, and femurs that towered like monuments to extinction. The ground itself was a mosaic of bone fragments and stone, creating a treacherous terrain that could shift without warning. Every step produced an ominous cracking sound, as if the earth itself was warning intruders to turn back while they still could. 4 figures moved cautiously through this prehistoric graveyard, their primitive forms dwarfed by the monolithic remains surrounding them. Gareth, the eldest of the group, carried himself with the weathered confidence of a man who had survived countless hunts in the most dangerous territories. His scarred hands gripped a crude spear tipped with obsidian, while his eyes constantly scanned the petrified landscape for signs of movement. Behind him, his 3 companions, Thane, a young but skilled tracker, Mira, a fierce huntress whose accuracy with a sling was legendary among their tribe, and Jorik, a massive warrior whose strength had saved them from countless predators, followed in single file through the maze of stone and bone. They had been tracking their quarry for 5 days across the wasteland, following a trail of destruction that spoke of creatures beyond their worst nightmares. The tribal elders had spoken of the entelodonts in whispered tones around dying fires, massive pig-like beasts with the temperament of demons and the size of bears. These were not the docile swine that occasionally wandered near their settlements, but apex predators that had earned the name hell pigs through centuries of terror and bloodshed. The trail they followed told a story of systematic slaughter. Entire herds of prehistoric deer had been torn apart, their bones scattered like broken toys across the landscape. The carcasses of smaller predators bore the unmistakable marks of massive tusks and crushing jaws. Whatever had passed this way was not merely hunting for survival. It was killing for the sheer pleasure of destruction, leaving a wake of carnage that even the most hardened warriors found disturbing. As they ventured deeper into the petrified forest, the very atmosphere seemed to grow heavier, more oppressive. The normal sounds of wildlife had long since faded, replaced by an unnatural silence that pressed against their eardrums like a physical weight. Even the wind seemed reluctant to disturb this place, moving through the stone trees with barely a whisper. The only sounds were their own breathing and the constant crunch of bone fragments beneath their feet. Gareth raised his hand, bringing the hunting party to an immediate halt. His nostrils flared as he tested the air, detecting something that made his blood run cold. The scent was unlike anything in their experience, a mixture of rotting meat, musk, and something else, something that spoke to the most primitive parts of their brains. It was the smell of a predator so ancient and savage that it had become the stuff of nightmares, passed down through generations of terrified survivors. Thane knelt beside a massive fossilized log, his keen eyes studying the ground with the intensity of a master tracker. What he found there made his heart race with a mixture of fear and excitement. Fresh tracks, still soft in the mineral-rich soil, marked the passage of their quarry. But these weren't the tracks of ordinary swine. They were the footprints of giants, each one nearly the size of a man's head, pressed deep into the earth by creatures of unimaginable weight and power. The spacing between the prints told a disturbing story. These creatures moved with purpose and intelligence, their gait suggesting not the random wandering of grazing animals, but the calculated movements of apex predators. The depth of the impressions indicated beasts weighing as much as the largest cave bears, but with the agility and cunning of pack hunters. Most disturbing of all, the tracks showed that there were at least 3 of them, possibly more. Mira's sharp eyes caught movement in the distance, a shadow that seemed to shift between the petrified trees with unnatural fluidity. For a moment she thought it might be a trick of the light, but then she saw it again. Something massive and dark, moving with the predatory grace of a creature born to kill. Her hand instinctively moved to her sling, fingers checking the smooth stones that might be their only defense against whatever stalked them through this fossilized nightmare. Jorik felt the weight of unseen eyes upon them, his warrior instincts screaming that they had walked into a trap. The arrangement of the fossilized trees seemed almost deliberate, creating natural corridors and blind spots that would favor ambush predators. His massive frame tensed as he realized they were no longer the hunters. They had become the prey in a game far older and more deadly than anything they had ever encountered. A low rumble echoed through the petrified forest, so deep and primal that it seemed to emanate from the earth itself. It was a sound that spoke of hunger and rage, of intelligence coupled with savage brutality. The hell pigs had found them, and the hunt was about to begin. The fossilized trees seemed to lean inward, as if the very forest was closing around them like the jaws of some primordial trap. The silence that followed was more terrifying than any roar. It was the silence of predators positioning themselves for the kill, the calm before a storm of violence that would test every survival instinct these primitive hunters possessed. In the distance, another shadow moved, then another. As the true scope of their predicament became horrifyingly clear, they were surrounded by creatures that had perfected the art of killing long before humans had learned to make fire. The attack came without warning, erupting from the shadows like a nightmare given flesh. The first hell pig burst through a cluster of petrified trees with the force of an avalanche, its massive form dwarfing even the largest cave bears the hunters had ever encountered. Standing nearly 6 feet at the shoulder and stretching over 10 feet in length, the creature was a living engine of destruction. Its head was disproportionately large, armed with tusks that could pierce armor and jaws powerful enough to crush bone like kindling. The beast's hide was scarred by countless battles, a patchwork of healed wounds that spoke of a lifetime spent in violent conflict. Its small, intelligent eyes burned with a malevolent cunning that was far more terrifying than simple animal rage. This was not a mindless predator driven by hunger alone. This was a creature that took pleasure in the hunt, that savored the fear of its prey before delivering the killing blow. Gareth's warrior instincts kicked in immediately. "Scatter!" he roared, his voice cutting through the primordial silence like a blade. The 4 hunters dispersed in different directions, their survival depending on speed and cunning rather than strength. Against such creatures, their primitive weapons were little more than toothpicks, but their human intelligence and agility were their only hope of survival. The hell pig's massive hooves thundered against the bone-strewn ground as it pursued Thane, who had broken left toward a cluster of fossilized trees. The young tracker's speed and agility served him well as he dodged between the stone trunks, but the creature behind him moved with a grace that belied its enormous size. Its tusks gouged deep furrows in the petrified wood as it turned to follow his path, leaving scars that would remain for eternity. Mira found herself face to face with a second hell pig that had emerged from behind a massive fossilized ribcage. The creature's breath was visible in the cold air, forming clouds of vapor that reeked of decay and death. She raised her sling with practiced precision, sending a smooth stone flying toward the beast's head. The projectile struck true, but bounced harmlessly off the creature's thick skull, serving only to enrage it further. The beast charged with the fury of a landslide, its massive form crushing fossilized bones beneath its weight. Mira rolled aside at the last possible moment, feeling the wind from the creature's passage ruffle her hair. She came up running, her heart pounding, as she realized how close she had come to being trampled into the bone-strewn earth. Jorik faced the largest of the hell pigs, a massive boar whose tusks were stained with the blood of countless victims. The warrior's great strength, which had served him well against cave bears and dire wolves, seemed insignificant against this primordial giant. He thrust his spear with all his might, but the weapon's obsidian point shattered against the creature's thick hide. leaving him defenseless against tons of muscle and rage. The hell pig's charge sent Jorik flying backward into a cluster of fossilized bones, the impact driving the air from his lungs and sending stars dancing across his vision. The creature loomed over him, its massive head lowering as it prepared to deliver the killing blow. Saliva dripped from its jaws, and Jorik could see his own reflection in the beast's cold, calculating eyes. Gareth attempted a desperate flanking maneuver, using firebrands to try and drive the creatures back. The flames reflected off the petrified trees, creating dancing shadows that made the forest seem alive with movement. But the hell pigs had faced fire before. They were older than humanity's mastery of flame, and they would not be deterred by such primitive tactics. If anything, the light only made them more visible, revealing the true scope of their prehistoric fury. The hunt became a deadly game of survival, with the humans using every trick their ancestors had learned in their struggle against extinction. They moved from tree to tree, using the fossilized trunks as barriers and the scattered bones as weapons. But the hell pigs were patient, following their every move with the inexorable persistence of death itself. These creatures had been perfecting the art of killing for millions of years, and they knew that time was their greatest ally. As exhaustion began to take its toll on the hunters, their movements became slower, their decisions less sharp. The hell pigs, however, showed no signs of fatigue. Their massive forms moved through the petrified forest with the endurance of creatures born to hunt, their breathing steady and controlled while their prey gasped for air in the thin atmosphere. The final confrontation came as storm clouds gathered overhead, painting the petrified forest in shades of grey and shadow. Thane found himself cornered against a wall of fossilized bones, with two hell pigs blocking his escape routes. Their massive forms rose like living mountains, their tusks gleaming in the dim light as they prepared to claim their prize. In a desperate gambit, the hunters used the unstable nature of the fossilized terrain to their advantage. Gareth and Jorik worked together to topple a massive petrified tree, sending tons of stone crashing down toward the hell pigs. The ancient wood shattered on impact, creating a barrier of debris that momentarily separated the predators from their prey. But the victory was short-lived. The hell pigs' enraged roars echoed through the forest as they began to circle around the obstacle, their intelligence allowing them to adapt quickly to changing circumstances. The hunters had bought themselves time, but in this prehistoric graveyard, time was a luxury they could not afford. The storm broke with sudden violence, sending sheets of rain cascading through the petrified canopy. The water mixed with the mineral-rich soil, creating a treacherous slurry that made footing uncertain. In the chaos of wind and rain, the hunters made their escape, leaving behind the hell pigs and their fossilized hunting ground. They had survived, but barely. As they fled through the storm, they could hear the frustrated roars of the hell pigs echoing behind them, a sound that would haunt their dreams for the rest of their lives. The petrified forest kept its secrets, and the hell pigs returned to their domain of stone and bone, patient as death itself, waiting for the next group of prey to venture into their primordial realm. The forest fell silent once more, but it was the silence of predators satisfied, knowing that their territory remained inviolate and that the next hunt was only a matter of time.